Hello and welcome to Yota's Kitchen. I want to say thank you to everyone who has subscribed to my channel, Yota's Kitchen, and who have stuck with me despite me not posting a lot of videos over the last 2 years. And I decided, okay, what do I want to do with my life? Which direction do I want to go? Because I was working in the human services field for many years, and I was a little burnt out, to be honest. Anyway, I decided, I love cooking. I have a YouTube channel. Why don't I just go in the culinary field? I'll learn a little more than what I know, and come to find out there's a lot of things that I didn't know or don't know that I am opening myself up to and welcoming, because I do want to learn as much as possible. And so today I have you here with me because I am doing a class assignment. And this class assignment is making ricotta cheese. This is really what my passion is, and my passion is cooking and learning. And I haven't really done anything. So here's my opportunity. Join me today in making some ricotta cheese. It's my first attempt. Hopefully I don't mess it up. As you can see, I have 3 cups of milk in there already, and I'm going to be putting in another 4 cups, making it a total of 7. And this is whole milk. And then to that, I am going to be adding 1 cup of heavy cream. Once it comes to 200 degrees, I am going to be adding 1/4 of a teaspoon of citric acid, which I will dissolve in some milk before I pour it in, as well as 2.5 teaspoons of salt. My thought process was, why don't I just reserve a little bit of the milk, put it in a little ramekin, put the citric acid in, and then when the milk heats up to 200, I can put everything in there, right? So again, we're doing this together. This is my first attempt in making ricotta cheese. Now, this is either going to be seen or it's going to be nixed. I'm going to get rid of it. So hopefully I succeed in making ricotta cheese. But anyway, I wanted to let you know, do not mix citric acid and the milk, because it will curdle it right away, regardless if the milk is cold or if the milk is at 200 degrees. So therefore, I went and got another ramekin. I put in maybe 3 tablespoons of water. I don't want to cool down the milk once it gets to 200. I decided I'd put a few tablespoons in the ramekin and put the citric acid. As you can tell, it did not curdle up because it's not milk. So I am telling you this so that you don't make the same mistake. And again, I have my salt right here waiting, and my milk is getting there. Now, boiling is 212 degrees. We don't want it to boil. We just want to get it hot enough to pour all our ingredients in there, to congeal the milk using the citric acid so that we can get ricotta cheese. When you're making ricotta, make sure you have heavy bottom pot, because the last thing you want is for your milk to burn. You're going through all this trouble, you're taking all the steps, and then last minute you realize your milk is burnt. You don't want that. So I have a whisk. I have been whisking it just to kind of feel the bottom of this pan, and it feels good so far. Nothing's sticking, everything's going well. So just be patient, and before you know it, you're going to be able to put that citric acid in. Okay. I think that this milk is almost at 200 degrees. You can see the bubbles all around. That tells you that it's almost 200 if it's not already 200. You see the foam in the center. That's another indication that this milk is almost ready. Okay, it's reached 200 degrees. So let's go ahead and add our salt and add our citric acid. There you go. So I'm going to turn that off and just give it a gentle stir. Okay, gonna let it sit for about 10 minutes and see what it looks like. At that time, it should be cool enough for us to start straining. Because I don't have cheesecloth, so I decided that I was gonna use the towel that I use when I make my yogurt. This is my towel that I have used for a while now. Wash it really well in hot water to get all that bacteria out of there, and wash it a few times if you need to, as often as you need. I was very, very perplexed as to why the ricotta did not curdle. I put the cover on after I took it off the heat and nothing was happening, and I put it to the side and I thought, you know what? I think I'm gonna put it back on the stove. I am gonna bring it up to about 200 degrees. I am going to let it simmer for a few minutes, and then I'm gonna turn it off. That will tell me if this is going to be successful or not. If after I do this it's not successful tomorrow, I will be looking for milk that's pasteurized but maybe not homogenized. Oh my goodness, I can't even speak. But anyway, whatever the case, I'll figure it out, and maybe we'll have ricotta. Want you to see what happens in this experiment. If nothing happens, if I don't save this, then tomorrow will be another batch, but it will still be on this video. The second recipe that I read, and I should have it somewhere, where it was just a question like, why didn't my ricotta cheese form? And the person who responded, which hopefully I didn't get rid of that, so I can give that person the credit they deserve. But anyway, it said that when you are putting acid in there, you need to put the acid in and let it simmer together a few minutes past the 200 degree mark. Now, I had turned it off once it hit the 200, and took it off the stove, and maybe I did that prematurely. Now, I do know that my heavy cream was ultra pasteurized, and that also could play a role into it. Okay, but you see the bubbles forming on this too? So this right there, it tells you that it's almost where you need it to be. So it's either the milk, it's either that I didn't let it cook long enough, maybe I didn't put enough citric acid in it, I don't know. Let's see what happens with this. It was going in the garbage anyway, so I have nothing to lose by bringing it to 200 to see if this would work. And you can see it has a little boil in it. Oh my goodness, do you see that? Hold on, I'm gonna... Look! It's forming! I am so glad that I did not give up on this. But it hasn't reached 200 yet, so even though the curdles are happening, it didn't reach 200, so well, maybe this is not a fail. I am really, really excited about this. I'm going to lower the heat just a little bit because I don't want it to burn. Oh my goodness, it has thickened up so much. Oh my goodness. I have to find that article that I read that said to just... You have to simmer the acid with the milk in order to curdle. And that was spot on. Maybe it's different when using vinegar versus using lemon juice or citric acid. In this case, I used both. I am really, really happy, especially if I can make some ricotta, and then we're going to figure out what we're going to make with it tomorrow, because it's really late right now. We're going to let it rest for 10 minutes, cool down a little bit. As you can still, it's still bubbling. And I hope that in 10 minutes from now I can say that I can strain it. Okay, so 10 minutes have passed, and if you can tell, I have curdling success. I am so happy that I did not get so frustrated that I threw this down the drain. I was trying to think, okay, like what did I do wrong? I followed the directions. This is what the directions said. Why am I not successful? What could I have done differently? So all these things are running through my head, and I'm thinking there has to be something aside from the ultra pasteurized whipped cream and the homogenized milk. There has to be, maybe something that I could have done differently. So anyway, that's when I came up with that article, and it was through Chowhound, I believe, and voila, all I needed to do was just cook it a few extra minutes instead of taking it off the heat right away like I did. But that's what that other recipe that I had read said to do. And, sometimes things just don't happen the way they should, even if you're following the recipe to a T. But I'm glad I read something else, and I by chance to put that on the stove, and here we are. I am just gonna pour this in that, and I am going to come back in about 10 minutes and see what happens. Hello and welcome back to Yota's Kitchen. I just want to let you know that I'm so satisfied. I am very happy that I did not throw that batch of milk out. I am glad I just left it there to ferment. That was my mindset, because look at it now. Ricotta! Now, who would have thought that I would have been successful in making ricotta after initially failing and thinking, oh my goodness, it must be the milk, it must be this, it must be that. And in the end, what it really was is that it needed a few more minutes to curdle up. So if you remember that first ramekin that I put the citric acid into that milk, I had reserved a little bit of milk, and I had put the citric acid in, and it curdled on me. And I thought, oh my goodness, this can't be right. I can't be throwing this in. It'll curdle the whole thing. I'll ruin it. But what I should have done, and this is just learning, right? You learn as you go. What I should have done is I should have gotten to 200 degrees, thrown that in, that little ramekin with the curdled up milk, should have thrown it in and let it simmer for a few minutes. And that would have probably brought me to the consistency that I wanted. Now, you live and learn. This is the first time I'm making ricotta. This was a school assignment, in a sense, extra credit. I was like, why not? I've always wanted to make ricotta. I'll make it. It didn't work out the way I thought that it would, but it's because I didn't have the knowledge that I needed. But through my mistake, I have that knowledge now. Let's taste it. Let's see how it is. Look at that. How nice and creamy it is. Isn't it beautiful? Still dripping a little bit, but it doesn't matter. It tastes like muzithra. It's a Greek cheese, very much like ricotta, and so tasty. I'm gonna let this drip just a little bit longer. Oh my goodness, so fresh tasting. That's what lingers in on my taste buds. That this is. I'm gonna make it again, and this time I'm gonna know where and what to do. Thank you for staying the course. Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Good morning and welcome to Yota's Kitchen again. I just wanted to show you the end results of my ricotta making. I wanted to show you how much whey we had left over, as well as how many cups of ricotta we made. Without actually measuring, I'm going to say that I have about 1.5 to 2 cups of ricotta cheese. And I have about 800 grams of whey. So about I'm checking it out. So almost 3.5 cups of whey. I'm going to show it to you. I bought this little pitcher in Greece last year because I wanted something with grams and I wanted something with ounces. And this also has liters, so how many liters are in there? And if we look at liters, it's 3/4 of a liter, a little bit over 3/4 of a liter of whey. Now, I have read some recipes that say that you can use this whey to make more ricotta. I have to read a little more on it because I know that if I put this in a pot, there's no way I'm going to make more ricotta. But who knows? I'll be surprised. I think what they meant is that we probably could use the whey to put in the milk when we're making ricotta again. Just like in yogurt, you need a starter. And I think that that's what they meant. But it wasn't really clear on some of the recipes that I did read regarding using the whey to make more ricotta. So I'm gonna guess that it means the starter, but as I use the ricotta to make something, and I hopefully will film this and also present it sometime in the near future, but I have a few recipes that have run through my mind in using that ricotta. Now, if I were to make or to do anything different, I mean, first of all, I have to say it was a miracle that I actually figured out by reading other people's posts about their difficulty with making ricotta and what could have gone wrong. That gave me the insight of, okay, this is what I need to do, and success, I made ricotta. Now, if I were to do it over again, I would know what I did wrong and what I need in order to make it right. But the one thing that I would have done just slightly different is instead of putting in 2.5 teaspoons of salt, I would have put 2. Now, it's not overly salty. It has a good flavor, but I would say that 2 teaspoons is probably the right amount. Anything above 2 teaspoons, unless you like things salty. But I would say that if you're starting this recipe, that the best thing to do is to start off with 2 teaspoons, see how salty it is, and then decide if you want more or if you want less. But I would say that next time I make ricotta, it's going to be 2 teaspoons, and everything else that I have learned I will use, and I will be successful. So if I want ricotta on the fly, I can get it done. I don't even have to run to the grocery store. All I really need is milk, heavy cream, a little bit of citrus or white distilled vinegar, or whatever it is that you're going to use to make that milk curdle. I really like the flavor that I have in my ricotta, and it does remind me of muzithra. And muzithra is ricotta, the Greek version of ricotta. We used to have the shepherds that came in, I don't know how often, at least once a year, and they would make cheese for us in Greece. And my grandfather had a barrel that he would put the cheese in. And so they had these little baskets, weaved baskets. And once the shepherds had done doing whatever it is they were doing, I remember watching them as a child, they would put the curdles, I guess, in these weaved baskets, and then they would let them sit so they could drain. And then when they were ready, how my grandfather got them ready to be put in the barrel was to float an egg in water. And how he did that was by putting salt in the water. And that salt, okay, when you have enough salt, it reacts almost like the ocean, how we float in the ocean, right? When we go swimming, the salt kind of carries us. The salt in the ocean kind of carries us, and that's how we float. Well, he would put the salt in the water. I don't know the mixture, like the ratio, how much water, how much salt. I just know that he would get this tub, he would fill it with water, and then he would add the salt. He would mix the salt in the water, and when the egg was floating on that it's not seawater, but that water, that salt and the water, when that raw egg was floating, the brine was ready for the barrel. So he would then take the little cheese molds that were no longer in the baskets, and he would place them on the bottom of the barrel, and then little by little he would build on that all the way until however many molds of cheese we had, and then he would throw the brine in, and we had cheese for like a year. Now my grandparents did tend to put a lot of salt in that, and sometimes you couldn't eat it. But you take that cheese, and I think it's called shepherd cheese in Greece. I'm not really sure. I don't remember. It's not coming to the top of my head right now. But you take that cheese and you can cut it and you can fry it. It's almost like halloumi, but it's not halloumi. And you can take that cheese, cut it down, fry it, or you can make the village soup. And the village soup was basically a tomato-based soup. You make it like you would make a normal tomato soup, and then you would add an egg in there and add some cheese in there. So it would be like a whole egg that would almost poach in that soup, which that's exactly what happened. It poached in that soup. And then you would have that nice softened cheese. And you wouldn't need really to overly salt the soup, because that cheese had a lot of salt in it. And as it kind of simmered in the juices of the soup, it released that salt, and it would be a nice hearty soup. And maybe one day I'll make it for you, but it's like one of my favorite soups. It's really not a lot of ingredients in there except for tomatoes. Fresh tomatoes. I'm sure you can make it with canned tomatoes. I think I might try it with canned tomatoes, but it can't be that far off. But anyway, I hope you really enjoyed this video. I am glad that I got some time to spend with you. And before I let you go, I want to just grab the ricotta cheese just so you can see. You saw the whey, right? You saw how much whey we had from the 8 cups, really, 7 whole cups of milk, 1 cup of heavy cream, and it produced 3.5 cups of, I just want to make sure that I'm seeing it right. Yep, a little bit over 3, or just a little bit under 3.5 cups of whey, and about 800 milligrams, a little bit less, it's 3/4 of a liter of whey, 3/4 of a liter. For a second there I got lost. It was like, what? When you talk about metrics, it's like, even though we had the metric system and I lived in Greece, I've been removed from there for so long that sometimes the math, it takes a second for me to kind of put it together. So here it is. I'm gonna say that this is approximately 1.5 to 2 cups, maybe a little more. It's a little weighty, if that's a word. And so this is what I'm thinking. I was thinking something sweet, to make something sweet with this. But I already made cheesecake, which I probably will remake that cheesecake. And I've already made canolas. And now that I know cannolis. Now that I know a little bit more about pastry, this is maybe I'm gonna redo some of the recipes to make it more professional instead of just home cook. Since I'm only a half a degree or a half a semester or 1 semester away from being a chef. So then I thought, this is my garde class that I'm making the ricotta cheese for, right? This is an extra assignment that she asked us to do for extra credit. Not that I need it, but you know, this test's still coming up. You never know if I mess something up, and having extra credit in class is not a bad thing. But since it's garde, I was thinking that maybe I should make, instead of making something sweet with it, make something savory with it. Thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe, share if you really like this video. I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And have a wonderful day, okay? I'll be seeing you soon.